Let's talk about palm strikes. Now, there's one thing martial artists like to do, it's argue minutia, or in other words, talk about that doesn't matter. One of those things are palm strikes. I want to answer two questions. One, are palm strikes useful in a non-sport setting, so self-defense? And two, how do we land a palm strike? What's the best way to do it? Which we'll talk about it. Now, I already know there's some guy that's probably said, well, bruh, they don't do palm strikes in the UFC. And if it's not in the octagon, then it doesn't work in the real world. I have a theory about that. My theory has to do with the gloves. Now, we have the gloves in sport fighting to protect these. So if I can protect these and I don't have to worry as much about damaging them, then I'd rather throw a punch than a palm strike. First off, distance. I have my palm strike here, and from this distance, I'm not hitting. Now, if I turn this into a strike or a punch, now I'm making contact. It doesn't seem like a lot, but those extra couple inches can make all the difference. It can make the difference between a no hit or a hit. So those inches are important. The other thing is for me at least, with punches, I can be more creative with my angles, where there are certain angles with palm strikes that can be a little bit awkward, and I can't sneak them in the same way that I can sneak in a punch. So if you're gonna have gloves on, well then yeah, I'm gonna punch more than I am gonna palm strike. I also like to teach palm strikes to beginners in Krav Maga and in my self-defense classes. Now, people that come in for the first time, they've usually never thrown a punch ever in their life. And if you've never thrown a punch before, it can take a long time to really master it. We have a whole entire sport around being a master at punching. It's called boxing. So palm strike can be a great way to introduce a new student into striking. There's also a lot less chance of them injuring themselves with a palm strike as opposed to a punch. With a punch, you can easily hurt your knuckles, even break them, as well as bend your wrist. With a palm strike, there's a lot less chance of injury. I still like to teach both palm strikes and punches. It's very important to learn how to throw a straight punch in self-defense. Some people might disagree with me, but we'll do another video on that. But I do like palm strikes for another reason. Now, hopefully you're not the guy down here. Hopefully you're the guy up here. But I like palm strikes from this angle. The reason being is two things. First off, a lot of times from this position, I already kind of have my hands open, either wrestling with their arms or trying to flatten them, tie them up so I can throw my own strikes. So my hands are open, so I take away that extra step of even having to closing them, and I can fire that palm strike right away. It's not the best reason in the world, but it's just one that I like. The real reason is because of this, the ground. Now, we already talked about sport fighting. I have gloves on. It's gonna be on the mat. I don't have to worry as much about hitting an object that's not their face and possibly injuring my knuckles really bad. But in a self-defense scenario, I don't know what this is gonna be on the ground. It might be concrete, asphalt, whatever. So if I throw my strike, if I throw my punch and he moves and I miss, broken knuckles. And now I just lost a weapon in a potentially life-threatening situation. That doesn't mean you can't throw punches from this mount position, but if we're trying to be extra safe and we definitely don't want to lose our weapons in a self-defense fight, I like palm strikes from this mount because I can throw them from where my hands already are. And if I do miss, it's not quite as big of a deal as if I hit the ground with my knuckles. Now the last thing to talk about are these. What do we do with our fingers when we do a palm strike? All the karate nerds and the kung fu nerds and the Krav Maga nerds, they're gonna argue about where your fingers should be when you do a palm strike. Well, you should have them like this, so when you strike, you can rake their eyes at the same time. Doesn't matter, okay? Who cares where... Connie's looking at me like I'm crazy right now. Connie is this crazy Hawaiian dude that I'm pretty sure could kill me. Can I say kill on YouTube? He could take my mortality away from me indefinitely. It doesn't matter where your fingers are at, all right? Who cares if it's like this, open or closed, or if it's peeled back or here? It doesn't matter. It's not a finger strike, it's a palm strike. We're trying to hit with our palm. I don't really care where your fingers are at. I can't believe that people even argue about this. So there's a really easy drill to make sure that you are actually hitting with the right part of your palm during a palm strike. So a super easy way to get your palm strikes down. I used to do this all the time when I started. I even did this for punches as well. But we want to make sure that we hit right here. This is solid bone. But we don't want to hit anywhere else. I don't want to just slap them. So we don't want to hit with our fingers or anywhere else. We want to hit right here. So an easy way to do this is get a wall and then gently, very gently, please don't put holes in your walls. Don't blame me. Is you're going to lightly do a palm strike on the wall. Now you'll know if you do it right because you will hear a little thunk, okay? You'll hear this thunk, 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 thunk. You'll hear this thunk. If you don't do it right, if you don't land right on that palm strike, you're gonna hear more of a slap. So we don't wanna hear the slap, we wanna hear the thunk. So just get up on a wall and very lightly do your palm strikes and try and land right on that heel of the palm every time. If you hear the thunk, you know you're doing it right. You can do the same thing with punches. Try that drill out for palm striking. Once again, just be careful on the wall, but if you hear that thunk, you know you're getting better at landing it in the right spot. And at that point, who cares where your fingers are at? Whether it's here, or here, or here, or... As long as you hear that thunk, that's all that matters. That's it for today. Go ahead and palm strike the subscribe button. Don't break your computers. Turn on notifications. Train perfectly, fight ferociously, and be ready. Be ready. Be ready. Be ready. Candy. Be ready, right? Yeah.